You can read his impressive biography in the 2026 SEA-PAC program or online. I think we'd all agree that ham radio ultimately belongs to our kids, the next generation. Tonight's speaker has made that a very personal goal. Ham radio was a great adventure for him as a child, and he has committed himself to make sure that it is so for our kids today. He's a teacher, a mentor, an inspiration to young as well as older hams. And I must say, on a personal note, my wife and I had such a wonderful talking with Neil and his wife Julie last night at the meet and greet that we were talking so much, he almost missed his dinner there. So we had to shut up so they could get some food. He's truly a magic man. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and a privilege to introduce to you Mr. Neil Rapp, WB9 VPG, our 2026 keynote speaker. Please welcome him to the podium.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to be here with you at SEA-PAC. This is my first trip west of Denver, and until I go to camp last year, I'd never been west of Kansas City, so this has been a great opportunity to get out here a couple of days early and see the sights and be with you all. It's also pretty cool to realize that Seaside is where Lewis and Clark turned around and started home. And on that journey home, one of the stops was in my hometown of Vincennes, Indiana, where they stopped to visit William Clark's older brother, George, who secured the area then known as the Northwest Territory and is now home of the George Rogers Clark Memorial, which was my very first podium. As hams, we experience the magic of radio and the magic of the people who make it happen. And ham radio is all around us, and sometimes we're kind of disappointed when it's not quite as prevalent as we think. If we could get the slides up here. A new coffee shop went in our area, in the area of Florence, Kentucky, just across the river from Cincinnati. And this new coffee shop came in, and I got all excited because when I saw the logo, I was just, we're not getting it. As soon as I saw this logo, I was like, oh, it's a ham radio coffee shop. It says 73. And yeah, 7 through, not 7-3. Or the other thing that, I noticed on the plane coming out here, I ran across this. And I saw this on the plane in the touch screen in front of me, and I was like, wait a minute, do we have our own repeater? Is this a net that we can check into and find out about everybody's ailments, gardens, and weather in the past week? No, it didn't work. So it was just a TV show, but ham radio has been magical for a variety of things. If we could go ahead. Okay. The magic of ham radio involves people as well as the radio itself. And one of the first people I met was a guy in our club, and his name was Merlin Williams, KA9AOS. And Merlin was owner of a music store and Shriner, and taught me how to do some magic tricks, and gave me several like this one that I brought with me, actually. So a lot of times as hams, we're trying to figure out what's inside the magic box. So if I open up the box here, there's a clock in here, and so we'll take the clock out here, and we're going to put the clock over here. Just a minute. So we've hidden the clock. The clock is gone, as you can see. So we'll close this box up and tap it with the magic wand. And we're going to make the clock come back to the box. So do you think that's on the left side or on the right side? On the right side? Oh, okay. It's not there. So try again. You think it's on the left side? Okay. Well, it's not on the left side either.
It should be in the box.
In fact, it's not in either side. But one more tap of the magic wand, and the clock is here. Now, he inspired me to do these. I used to go to elementary schools and do these reading as fundamental parties, and I would do this little magic show for them and read to them, read a book, and you know, it was always about the magic. And as hams, we have this magic box with parts in it that has this miraculous magic smoke. And the trick is not to let the magic smoke escape. Because once the magic smoke escapes, it's gone. And so, you know, there's this magic box. As a chemistry professor, I talk about chemistry, you know, the chemicals, and trying to figure out what's in these chemicals that we cannot see, and how we use electromagnetic spectrum to figure out what some of those things are as a chemist in spectroscopy. But not only are we trying to figure out, you know, the magic of these things, but also the people. And we've met a ton of fabulous people along the way. One evening I was on FT8. I did not take the bathroom break. But a good friend of mine always says that's what he does during meetings. But I was on FT8 and I saw a call sign that just jumped out at me. And I was like, wait a minute. It says AI9Q. And I'm thinking, there was an AI9Q in my hometown. I'm going to look this guy up on QRZ. And I did, and it was Wayne. And I decided to email him, and I said, Wayne, I haven't talked to you in over 40 years, but just wanted to say hello, that I remember you from when I was a little kid, and you were from my hometown of Vincennes, Indiana, and just wanted to say hello. And a couple of emails later, I'm booked to be the keynote speaker at SEA-PAC. So Wayne, thank you very much. And it's been great to catch up. I believe we figured out I was 9 years old the last time that Wayne saw me. So just want to say thank you for the invitation, and then seated directly across, Barbara, when we came in Thursday evening, introduced herself at dinner and says, "Hi, I'm Barbara from Evansville, Indiana." And so that's all it took. I was like, okay, I'm sold. You're from 40 miles away from my hometown. So Barbara and Wayne, thank you for all you have done to make this event so fabulous. And it's been great to be here. Been absolutely great. But none of this would have happened without the magic of ham radio. And some of you may know my story. If you don't, I'll tell it to you real quickly. Go ahead with the next slide. My dad and I, we got into ham radio together. My dad took vocational electronics in high school, but never got licensed. But a couple of decades later, a doctor that worked at the hospital where he was an electronic technician gave him a box of electronic junk, and outside, and out of that box comes this code oscillator that you see here. He got it out and made beeping sounds, and I had to know what it was. At 5 years old, it made beeping sounds. And so Dad decided that it was time for him to get licensed, and so he was going to go take a class to learn Morse code and the theory and get licensed. And so here's a picture of me on the right, first night of code class, and Dad's there, and he's got his notebook out, copying down the letters, and I'm trying to do that. But what a lot of people don't realize, they've probably heard this story that I was 5 years old when I got my license, but they don't realize that it almost didn't happen. So on the next slide, you'll see the two guys that taught the class, Willie Sage, K9 IHU, and Howard Hazelman, K9 SLV. And they had this flyer that they put up in all the supermarkets and everything around town. Talk to the world and now so can you. And so Dad decided to sign up for this class. But one of the things that was on the flyer was that there was a 13-year-old age limit on the class. And so, I would not be able to attend. So he talked to them and said, hey, I've got my 5-year-old son. He follows me around everywhere I go. He's quiet. He's well behaved. He won't make any noise. Can he just come along and just sit next to me? And there was a lot of skepticism. And finally, he was able to convince them, yeah, as long as he doesn't make any noise, we'll try it for 1 week. But if he starts making any noise, you're going to have to leave him at home for the rest of the class. So they agreed, and I, went to class with Dad, sat next to him. He got his notebook out, I got my notebook out. He got his pencil out, I got my pencil out. And about 30 minutes later, people started looking around really funny, going, wait a minute, is he actually copying code? And yeah, I was picking it up at 5 years old, and I was sitting there being quiet and everything, but I was doing what Dad was doing, and that's what I did. And so they finally started realizing that, hey, maybe this kid can do this. And so I kept going, and I kept at it. And I took my first code test, which at that point you had to have 25 characters in a row. I got 23. So the next week, it was time to try it again. And here is my copy. We can change that. It was 104.
Yeah.
Now you may notice on the paper here that there's a whole bunch of signatures. Wayne, you probably know every one of these people that signed this paper, but they passed the sheet around the class and had everybody sign it because they said there is no way in the world the Federal Communications Commission is going to think that a 5-year-old kid can get a ham radio license. So we're going to have everybody attest to this by signing this. So we sent in the forms, and I signed my 610, which now it's a 605. I signed the 610, but I didn't know cursive, so I printed my name. So the form got rejected. And so we resubmitted it, and Dad held my hand while I was writing cursive to sign everything. And then the test came. I took it in Howard's basement. We mailed it in and hoped for the best. Well, after waiting impatiently for weeks for the results in the mail, next slide please, one Saturday morning in July of 1976, the mail had arrived from the Gettysburg address, the FCC licensing facility, 1270 Fairfield Road. I still remember it. In fact, one time I went and visited 1270 Fairfield Road while I was out on the East Coast. But I was so excited that I had to get on the air right away, but Dad was called in to work overtime at the hospital and wasn't home to help me tune the rig and everything. So I proceeded to do that all on my own. And so Mom is convinced that I'm going to blow up the house. And, I'm tuning up the transmitter, getting everything ready to go, and I get on and I make my first contact, K3DIF, who happened to be a reporter for the Associated Press, and found out that I was 5 years old. And so the story went on from there. So I decided, that I wanted to get on voice and get a technician class. So if you want to advance that. Mom just couldn't stand not knowing what we were saying in code. So she decided that the next year she would take the code class, but she wasn't going to take the theory. She wasn't going to get a license. She wasn't going to do any of that stuff, but she was going to learn the code so she could know what we were saying. She couldn't take it anymore. And and then she became WD9HEE and got her advanced and got the extra code and everything. But one of the things that happened quite regularly on the air is, I'd be sending along, QTH is Vincent, Indiana, age is 5. And no one would come back. They just disappeared. And sometimes they would say, age 5'5", question mark? No, age 5, F-I-V-E. And they disappeared. And so I'm trying to get work all states and, not getting that one. Got to do it over again because they didn't believe that a 5-year-old could pass the test. And, a lot of people were in disbelief, but this word started getting around. Next one, please. The story started showing up in the magazines. My 6th birthday came up. Kenwood decided to give me a TS-520 for my 6th birthday. Even one of the sales reps even flew out to give it to me, and ended up going to Hamvention. Dad wrote Hamvention, and I sat in the Kenwood booth and signed QSL cards and met people. And this photo is definitely a classic because Hera Arena actually looks pretty good. But, I went and signed over 250 cards and the flyers, and I was in the program that was up here a second ago. So time went on. I went through technician at age 6, general at 7, advanced at 9, and I'd had enough of CW at that point, so I quit. And then the volunteer exam program came along, and the 20 words a minute was getting phased out, and I wanted to pass it before it got phased out, and I wanted to be a volunteer examiner. So I jumped back into the code and got my extra at age 20. Next one, please. This is the flyer the following year. You notice that the age requirement had been replaced. It no longer said that there was a 13-year-old age requirement, and they taught the world's youngest ham. And so that's my beginnings in amateur radio. Well, fast forward, went to college in Evansville, Indiana, and Vincennes, Indiana, restarted the club there. Next slide, please. Revived W9MOK, the University of Southern Indiana Amateur Radio Club, and got an undergraduate degree in chemistry. It was pre-med, and decided that coaching basketball was what I wanted to do. And so I guess I'm going to be a chemistry teacher. So I became a chemistry teacher, and sure enough, my second year, I was placed at a school that had this really nice 70-foot tower and antenna outside in the courtyard. And they were getting ready to take it down, and I said, no. There was a ham there before me, and they had been sitting for years. And I was like, no, we can use that. And so I started up the Harrison High School Amateur Radio Club. From there, I moved to Bloomington, Indiana, and started restarted the Bloomington High School South Amateur Radio Club, which had actually been in paper back in the 40s when we had to shut down for the war, and restarted that club and got a pretty good run at School Club Roundup. We won a School Club Roundup many times, and had a very successful chemistry career there, and brought tons and tons of young people into amateur radio. So after that was going pretty well, and I started doing a podcast, and a couple of guys came on my podcast and said, hey, we've gone over to Europe and we've heard about this program called Yoda, Youngsters on the Air, and we've been trying to get this to work, and just haven't been able to get it off the ground, and so we'll come on your show and talk about it. And then after the end of the show, I say, well, I've done basketball camps, I've done church camps, I've done, all the high school club stuff. Maybe I'm your person. And so we started looking into options, and it was a struggle. We had to change plans several times, but finally we were able to establish YODA, or Youth on the Air, which is what I spend most of my time doing now. But one of the things that we've learned, over the years, and I've learned from mentors like Carol Perry, WB2MGP, and others, is that, when you're trying to get kids into ham radio, you don't start with the test. You start with the magic. You start with the magic of radio, and they got to understand how to use the box and what's in the box, and figure those things out for themselves. And so I used to, try to find a really good station for them to talk to, and I would, give them a script and have them, read straight from the script, and oh, you made a contact. And found out that was probably not the best approach, because they wanted to spin the knob. They wanted to figure everything out. Well, I had done the same thing when I was 5 years old. I got on and made my first contact, and I had to tune the thing. So it only made sense to do that. And as I did that, things started to really accelerate. And we got into this YODA thing, and I still remember sitting at the Huntsville Ham Fest in the vendor lounge talking to Ray Novak from ICOM, and we're talking about trying to get this off the ground. And ICOM put their support in for it, and we were sitting there talking to a couple people about it. And Ray summed it up very succinctly. He said, I asked him, why doesn't this Yoda thing work? Why is this so different? What makes this such a good program? And the answer was, they teach each other. It's a peer-led program. So we don't bring in the experts that are, the world-class experts in this topic or that topic in ham radio. They learn from each other. So you find a kid that knows a little bit about this, and they start learning from each other. And as a professor and a former teacher, it drives me nuts that kids won't ask questions. Because if they just ask questions, I can help them. But the science shows that students won't ask questions from their teacher or professor unless they're so overwhelmed and it's so over their head that they're convinced that their peers won't be able to help. And so we really, focused on the adults are going to be there to supervise, the adults are going to be there to make sure that all the safety stuff is going, but we have a big, big hole in our approach to youth. We do all this stuff for recruitment, and we've got to have it, don't get me wrong. We need recruitment. We need people to go out there and bring those young people in. But next slide, please. But I would argue that we need to move the needle a little more toward retention. There just aren't that many programs out there to keep our young people in amateur radio that are focused solely on providing resources and getting those peer interactions going that's raising up the next generation of leaders for ham radio. And Yoda, I truly believe, is where those leaders are coming from. And so we need to shift the paradigm, in my opinion, not quite so heavily on recruitment, but a little more toward retention. So with Yoda, one of the things that we kind of figured out is that a lot of times we're misunderstood. And so one of the ways that we thought that we should express that is with a meme. Now, I don't know how many of you know what a meme is. So next slide, please. We're going to show you what a meme is. But a meme is kind of a modern day cartoon. It's something witty. It just kind of shows. So I picked, the public school teacher because that's me. So what my friends think I do, what my parents think I do, what students think I do, what society thinks I do, what I think I do, and what I really do. And we came up with one for Yoda, but as I was looking at memes and trying to explain a meme, I found out that memes actually came from ham radio, and something that I did a ton of when I was a teenager. Next slide, please. And that's Ready Pictures. Ready Pictures was a predecessor to the meme, and these were a couple of my favorite ones from growing up that I was lucky to find on this website that's listed here. So with Yoda, we have this meme, if you would advance that, what people think we do, what hams think we do, what we feel like we do, at least sometimes, and what we really do. What people think we do, well, the minister at Julie and I's wedding made a statement that, well, this guy is in ham radio. I didn't even know ham radio was still a thing anymore. Let me tell you, the audience let him know pretty quickly that yes, ham radio is still a thing. Hams think that we get together and we teach the test. We get kids licensed, when in fact, we require a license before you can apply. Sometimes people think that, they sit in presentations and seminars and lectures and lectures and lectures and guest speakers, and that's not what we do. And sometimes we feel like we're being the rebels. And in fact, I should explain this picture. If you can see, there's a sign that says, "Shut off your radio transmitter," because when we were in Halifax, Nova Scotia for camp, they were doing some construction work and they were doing some blasting just down the street from where the camp was being held. And they saw all of our antennas and went, "I think we got a problem here. You're going to have to turn off all your radios." And we're like, well, that's kind of a problem. We're a radio camp. And so they agreed to call us whenever they were getting ready to do the blasting so we could turn everything off until the blasting was done, and then we could get back on the air again. So sometimes, they had to get their picture with their transmitters being rebellious next to the "shut off your radio transmitter" sign. But what we really do is bring these young hams together. If you talk to any of these young hams, we do have a lot of young hams in amateur radio, but they're very isolated, like I was. The closest young ham to me was in Evansville, Indiana, 50 miles away. And I go speak at clubs, and almost always there's one young person. There is one, but there's one. And these young people feel so isolated. If you talk to them, they'll tell you that. They don't really know that each other exists. And so what we do is we bring them together physically for a week to learn from each other. And it's totally a peer interaction. Almost all of our sessions are led by people who are 35 or under. We try for 26 and under, which is the campers. Occasionally we have an exception, but what we try to do is get these people together so that they have a community. And it's the same problem that we address as adults in our ham community. We need elders. We need people that can help each other. And that's one of the lifeblood things of amateur radio, is helping each other out. And these young people don't want to ask these older people, which I try to get them to do it. But the reality is that oftentimes they don't. Oftentimes they're reluctant to do that. So now when they come to camp and they know, oh yeah, this guy, he does high altitude ballooning. So I want to get into that. So I'm gonna email this guy that I met at camp, and we're gonna figure this out. And this happens constantly. So our mission, if I could have the next slide, is to empower the next generation of amateur radio operators by providing immersive learning experiences, fostering international relationships, and promoting a lifelong passion for radio communication and technology. We want to retain the young people that we have. We want to give them activities. And so these are the things that we do, but we promote each and every youth program we know about. But we have the camps for licensed hams, 15 through 26. One of the first things that I said when I took this on was, we got to come up with a junior camp, because, hey guys, I was 5 years old when I did this. And so we're going to have all these kids that are under 15 going, well, I want to go to camp. Why can't I go to camp? And so we invented Yoda Junior for licensed hams under 15. We have the Yoda Month special event, so all through December, there are special event call signs, and there's an award program for working those Yoda stations. So all of the ops are under 26 years old. We have the Yoda contest, which is 3 times a year, and youth are worth bonus points, but everybody can participate in the contest. We have the youth contesting program, which matches contest station owners up with young people who would like to come operate a contest for a day within a few hours drive, but also we've been able to make some connections with some stations in the Caribbean. And so we actually have some opportunities for our young people to go to the Caribbean during contest weekends and participate. So this is where we're at right now. We've completed 5 years, year 6. For me, starts on Thursday. Got to fly home tomorrow and pack up the cars and start heading to Huntsville on Thursday to get set up for the camp, which will start a week from tomorrow. We've had 134 campers come through the program. The average age is 18, and we really want every young ham to go through the program once. That's our goal. We want everybody to come through once. So we really focus on getting as many first-time campers as we can. And our staff, though, is mostly young people, so we need some returning staff too. So our goal is that 2/3 of our campers are first-timers, and as you can see, we've exceeded that goal. We've had campers from 9 different countries, 31 states, 6 provinces, and we have 19 people who have been adult staff members to make sure everything goes smoothly, jump in whenever needed, do chaperone duties to ensure that everyone is safe, because we have some pretty strong safety protocols so that we can continue this camp, because if we don't, we won't be able to have it. And 4 adult guest speakers. I get requests all the time, and I hate turning people down to say, no, you can't come volunteer at our camp. You can't teach about this, you can't teach about that, because the whole idea is that the campers are teaching each other. And that's one of the core things about yoga. We are growing pretty quickly. Next slide. We've gone into Canada, but we've also gone into Argentina, El Salvador. We have our first Mexican coming here next week. And then recently we've added Uruguay and Colombia here in our Yoda region as participants at some level. We haven't had campers from all of them yet. We're working on it, but most of them we have. Next slide. We have an entire book of safety protocols. We have copied a lot of the material from the scouts to make sure that everybody is safe. Like I said, our adults are facilitators, not leaders. We've upgraded our safety protocols even more. We're doing background checks on anyone 18 or over, including the campers. We are offering and requiring the scouting training. It's a 90-minute training session. Again, anyone 18 or over has to have this, because safety has to be our first and foremost concern. So I won't show you the whole document, but you're welcome to look at it on our website if you want more information about that. I want to share a couple of success stories just so that you have an idea of some of the things that are happening. Next slide. Actually hit that again if you would. Here is our high altitude balloon launch from the very first Yoda camp. And standing there where the arrow is Case Van Osprey, W0AAE. And he's there learning about high altitude ballooning for the first time and doing the tracking with amateur radio. And if you'll be kind enough to hit the button again there, you'll see Case now.
Yeah, right.
Advance that again, please. Oh, there it is. Oh, no, sorry, go back. Case is at Iowa State getting a degree in engineering, and guess what? He's mentoring high altitude ballooning. because of what happened at Yoda Camp. The next one is Theo Pastrana, LU1XOP. He's from Argentina. He wrote to me and said, hey, is there anywhere I can go get an arrow antenna, because I want to teach people how to do satellites and I need an arrow antenna. And I said, no, we don't have, you can advance that please. We don't have a ham radio store in Ottawa, but let me see what I can do. So I ordered one and took it with me. And we sent him home with an arrow antenna, which you see there. And then not too long after that, next one please. You'll see Theo here showing people how to operate satellites in Argentina. And again, this would not have happened if it were not for Youth on the Air. Next slide, please. So our camp this year is June 14th through 19th. Please listen for us. We'll be W4Y. For the first time, we have a theme. It's all space themed. It's in Huntsville, Alabama. We have a Saturn V moon rocket staring us in the face through the window of the auditorium of our facility. And so everything is space related for and by young hams, and building those strong relationships with peers and mentors. And so we would really appreciate it if you could work us throughout that week. Next one, please. Spread the word about Youth on the Air. We need to know where these young people are so we can get them involved and get as many people through this program as possible. Worker special event. We need pileups for our kids to practice their skills. Maybe you have a good site for us to host the camp at, so consider hosting us. You can donate to us on our website. We have a donor page with a ton of different ways to donate to us. We also have an Amazon wish list for supplies that we're going to need at camp. And so if you would like to pick out what you donate, you're more than welcome to do that wish list. But I will tell you that since I'm leaving on Thursday, Monday when I get back, I'm ordering what's on the list. So if you're going to do that, do so soon. And then, volunteer to help set up and tear down. The antennas, we have to have volunteers in those towns to set those up because it just takes too long. And tear those down. But the shack setup and all that kind of thing, they do that. The kids are doing that. Another way that you can help is sponsor a camper. Our cost is about $2,100 expected for this year. If you include all the equipment, it's about $3,800. And, it's a lot of money. And so, I started taking, a pretty serious look at the money situation when we started. And, prices have gone up 40% since we've started because of, the after effects of COVID. And so we started kind of comparing other camps. And one of the camps that a lot of my chemistry kids would go to was the National Youth Leadership Forum on Medicine. And it's $4,449 if you can advance that. Yeah. And aerospace is $43.95, engineering is $39.99. We're well below that because we spend an excruciating amount of time trying to cut every deal we can cut to minimize the cost of this as much as possible. And so we looked up and to see what the average was across the U.S. for any kind of camp. And the average was $26.91.18. And so, we're well below the average camp, let alone a STEM-based camp. So we really work at it to keep those low. And it's challenging. In Region 1, they operate about 57% of our budget per camper, and that's because they have youth hostels. And I've got the numbers from them, and I'm like, you're paying how much? I would do anything to be able to provide housing and meals for $400 a week. I'm like, there's no way I can do that. And so we've been, looking at the numbers, but we really, really work hard to make sure that there is absolutely no bloat whatsoever. But they had a 10-year head start. They're up to 100 campers. It's very competitive to get in, and that's where we would like to go, but we just can't afford to do 100 right now. So we are turning kids away, but we're trying to do the best we can. We charge them $100, and that's basically just to show a commitment. We're not trying to recoup the cost. We're just trying to get them to show up so that we don't waste money. The junior camp was an even bigger success. A parent would come along for a 3-day weekend, and it was $13.23 a camper, and we're hoping to repeat that again next year. So, a couple of things in closing here. Next slide. I'm breaking my big PowerPoint rule by putting too many words on the screen, but I want to read this to you from one of the parents. Camper safety and well-being is baked into the program from start to finish. Our sole responsibility as camp mom and dad is to account for each participant at every activity and watch for not only their physical safety, but their mental and emotional well-being. If we notice a youth withdrawing, struggling to engage in the program, or any difficulty at all, we work to discover and resolve those concerns. We've volunteered with scouting, 4-H, faith youth groups, military support groups, over 27 years, and Yoda's volunteer vetting, credentialing, training, and safety protocols exceed any organization we've ever been affiliated with. Yoda's incorporated safety aspects above and beyond what most youth organizations do by including transparent electronic communication protocols as well as increased nighttime accountability. Best of all, Yoda, in our opinion, has fostered both physical and virtual environments that are inclusive and safe for youth with a wide variety of backgrounds. As a parent, I can't think of a safer environment for my own children. We are being honest when we say you've created probably the safest youth environment we've come across in years. So we really work hard. We take pride in making sure that our campers are safe and well taken care of. And you can look at some of the quotes, next slide here, and you can go ahead and hit that again. Some of the quotes here from campers, but it's these quotes that I see that mean so much. Like, it was really awesome. Thank you for an amazing week. I think I learned more this week and became more comfortable on the air this week than any other thing. And that's why we do what we do. I don't want, and I tell them the story of being 5 years old and having people not come back to me anymore, and having to restart, trying to work that state all over again, because I tell them I don't want that to happen to you. I went through that. I don't want that to happen to you. We want to believe in our youth that are doing this, and we want to connect you, and so that's what we do. So, thank you for listening. Thanks for supporting the retention of our young hams. Thanks for the opportunity to share with you this evening, and may the magic of ham radio be with you for many years to come and be something you too can share with some young people. Thank you very much.